Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final, I know I'm saying it with a tear, our final Happy at Home session. Okay, I see that my audio is not doing what it's supposed to. Why did it decide to do that? I tell you, the stuff that, the tech stuff, if it just worked all together on the same day, I might die of shock. But I think you can hear me, so even though our sound is not the quality that we wanted it to be, maybe we'll just accept this where it is right now. So welcome. We are here for our Happy at Home session. This is our final one, and I hate saying that. I actually contemplated not saying that today because I've had so much fun with them. But I really feel that every good thing should have its run, and then we should move on to other fun things. So that's where we're at today, and that's just how we'll leave it. Let's see if I can convince this microphone here. Okay, is this better? Can somebody let me know? Is this better? It should be better. It should be better. And there we go. So, welcome. So, my name is Alice Bowl, and I run the membership group at ScrapHappy.org. And it has been one of the funnest things that I have ever done was joining the ScrapHappy group. And since then, I've had so many opportunities to do fun kinds of scrapbooking. Thank you, Diane, for letting me know. Kathy says, we haven't finished running the marathon with you. I know, it kind of feels like we're kind of leaving off too early. You guys, I say this is the final one, but I would not be shocked if I add some dates to our June calendar. Let's just say I'll send them out in an email because you guys totally got on my email list, right? That totally happened. You got on that email list. It's all good. Okay, so Brenda says, I'm so glad I'm able to watch today. Well, I am glad too. So glad that you're here. And Mickey is here too. I haven't seen you for a while. And Jane, oh my gosh, and Kathy and Joyce and Sheila. This is so amazing. The amazing thing is that we've had some people that are here every single time joining me for these sessions. And we've covered a lot. And instead of doing like a recap, because we actually did that at the end of April for all the April sessions, and I thought rather than kind of do a recap today, I'll kind of just list what we've done for some sessions. And then I thought what we would do is actually do a different kind of review. So I have a different review for us today. So yay. I know, it's so good. So in April, we were doing this 5 days a week. I actually can't even believe that now. Like looking back, I'm like, how did that even happen? And Jane says, I didn't want to miss the last one live. So how did we even do that 5 days a week for the month of April? So we started off talking about watercolor for scrapbookers. I shared that my favorite paper to use is the Prima 12x12 because it's already the right size and it's nice watercolor paper. We talked about multi-step stamping the next day. We did some ink comparisons, and I tell you, like these are the things that never can end because you know what I just recently got? I got a new ink, guys. I got some new ink. This one is totally upside down, but these are inks from the stamp market. I had just a moment to play with them. They're quite nice. So Lisa says, give us a prize to those of us that have been here for all of it. if I had like a million prizes to hand, actually, sometimes I do. Like February load, I tell you, we tend to have a lot of prizes during our February loads. It's kind of amazing and almost scary in the way that it is. So, um, yeah. So are going to, we are going to do, oh, that's funny. I tested something. It was not the right thing, but I guess I found out now. Um, so yeah, so we talked about ink comparisons. It never ends. There's always new products. There's always new fun stuff to check out, right? We did a day about talking about nostalgic pages and telling nostalgic stories, which I really loved. We discussed unfinished projects and unfinished layouts, those UFOs, unfinished objects, right? UFOs. We talked about those and how to tackle them and kind of why they crop up and how you might use that knowledge to prevent them. We did a day, and I tell you, this is a fun one for me because I love doing things that move on pages. So we did one all about moving interactive pages. So stuff that moves, stuff that does stuff. We did it all in one day, and that was on April the 8th. So in case you're like, okay, why are you telling us about all of these? They're all on a replay. I made a whole list of the Happy at Home sessions. The titles for all of them tell you what they're about. So that's super good. And you can actually go into those sessions and go through the whole playlist and just kind of catch up on any that you might have missed or need to review. They were pretty fun. We stamped a scene. We used some stamps from a 3-room studio, which are amazing, and we stamped a scrapbook scene. And then actually Sandy was our Scrap Smarter instructor that month, and she told us, she really showed us how to do masking and stamping of scenes, like to the amazing degree, to the 10th degree, the 9th degree, what did they say, the nth degree, right? That's what they say. Yeah, that was like super good. We did some on Great Friday, not just Good Friday. We talked about cooperative effort. So we just talked about ways of getting other people's info and sharing all these other perspectives on your pages, whether it's with their knowledge or not. Sheila says we got together because we had nothing else to do. I know. It was so crazy. And that's why we started this whole series. And it's what makes me hesitant to end, because this hasn't quite ended yet, right? This hasn't ended. We are still at home. We are still not traveling the world. We are still under some quarantine terms, right? We talked about acrylic embellishments. We talked about Nuvo drops, and we compared different kinds of Nuvo drops. We talked about distress crayons. We talked about creating a mood on your layouts. And I shared a lot of pages that day. So if you really like to see layouts, that's a good one for that. On the 17th of April, we talked about using your fuse tool. So if you have a fuse tool, we talked about making shakers and using flip flaps and pocket pages. So we dove deep into the world of the fuse tool. On the 20th, we had our, what do you call that? Misophonia? Mickey, you'll have to help me out there. People that don't like weird noises might not love the one from the 20th. We use the fun Vicky Boutin bubble technique, as I like to call it, where you actually blow bubbles into a cup and you capture those bubbles onto your paper to make stunning papers. That was super fun, but an auditory nightmare for people that can't stand the sound of kids blowing bubbles in their milk, because that's totally what it sounded like. Next up, we talked about different ways of adding texture to pages. We talked about the load challenge and what you can, like, what it's all about. We talked about traveler's notebooks. We talked about stencils. We talked about making connections on your layouts, kind of taking something old with something new. We kind of had a basic love fest for Stacy Julian that day because she is a scrapbooking goddess. Shout out to Stacy. On the 28th, we did some problem solvers. We solved some scrapbook problems. On the 29th, we talked about cut files. And then on the 30th, we actually did a review. And then in May, we have discussed rainbows, and we talked about all different kinds of rainbows and rainbow products and stamps and dies. And oh my gosh, we dove deep into the subject of rainbows that day. Super fun. Then we talked about mink foil. We talked about the foil quill freestyle. We talked about scrapbooking on the go. I did that one live from my mom and dad's with somewhat sketchy internet that day. But the tips that I use for scrapbooking on the go are perfect for anybody that wants to scrapbook on a budget, or they don't always have access to all of the supplies. so that's been kind of fun. And then we had a day about turnabout stamps. I professed my love of the turnabout stamps. We did a day where I gave you this sneak peek kind of behind the curtain of a class that I made years ago called Scrapbook U. And I shared a coupon for that class on that day so that if anybody wants to go and do the self-paced class where you actually create a highlight reel about your own life. It's really good for people that have never really scrapbooked their story or didn't know where to start in scrapbooking your story. That was really good. On Tuesday this week, we talked about the first load challenge that I ever participated in and how that changed my scrapbooking, because it really did. And I showed you a lot of pages I'd never shared before. So I would venture to guess that through this series, the last 2 months, I've probably shared 150, 200 pages, do you think? Something like that, probably. You've seen a lot of my scrapbooking anyways. And that leads us to the review that I wanted to do today. So I thought it was, after all of these topics, we've talked about things you can do to make your scrapbooking better. We've had some journaling tips seasoned through the time. We've talked about so many different techniques. And I think that through all of it, the goal is always to make pages that you love, right? So I want you to write good stories, and I want you to make pages that you love. And if anything I have done this past 2 months during this Happy at Home series has helped you achieve that, then I win. Then I win. So that is exactly what I'm hoping, is that something will inspire you to have more fun with what you're doing. And I'd love to know if you have made some pages, if you've tried any of the things that we've covered. So tell me, post it below and tell me if you've done some of the techniques, what you've tried. Did you like it? Did you do that bubble technique and you're like, oh my goodness, what was this? Did you try something else? Maybe you looked back and you wanted to create a page that was nostalgic and you kind of used some of the tips from that. Maybe you wanted to create a page about, you wanted to start a project about your own life and, your overall story. Then maybe you use some of the tips from the Scrapbook U session. Maybe you've been like all about the rainbows. You. Thumbs up. Thank you. I also appreciate that. It's like a little bit of sunshine when I see those coming in. Yeah, but I'd love to know if you've tried any of the techniques or if it's made you look at something that you do a little bit differently. Because for myself, just hosting these sessions has also forced me to look at my pages much more closely. And I wouldn't say critically, because I wouldn't say I criticize my pages. There are things that I do that I think could be better, but it's not so much that I'm a critic, it's that I want to look at how I can improve and how I can make it better and how I can just enjoy it that little bit more, right? If I'm going to be scrapbooking, I better be having fun doing it. So, okay, question about terminology. Please tell me below. Have you ever said, I have to do my scrapbooking, or I have to make this page? Because I'm dying to know, do you say those words? Do you say have to when you talk about scrapbooking? Because I've totally busted myself saying this. So nobody's going to confess, or are my comments not loading? either or. Sometimes one or the other. Kathy said, you made me want to scrapbook me. Yay. And Mama Ratsy, she said, you made me look deeper into my journaling. I love to write and journal, but your tips have reinforced my storytelling. Thank you. And Sheila says, the very first day I watercolored flowers for cards, and I made Traveler's Notebook too. And I bought the 3-room studio stamps. Oh my gosh, like her reading collection. Oh my goodness. And then the new fairies. Yes, so good. And Joyce says, I made so many new online friends, and I have a list of pages to create from these sessions. Yes. Kathy says, I have, but I try to want to. I know, it's funny the terms that we use, like I have to scrap, I have to do this. And sometimes it's laziness in language, right? It's just the way we talk. But I never want to have to scrapbook. I want to get to scrapbook. I want to, make time to scrapbook. Like, I want to enjoy the scrapbooking. It's like, I get to go play now, not I have to go do my work now, right? And I think that part of that is just like that mindset shift that we can set up for ourselves, and make sure that we use the best words. And there's nothing super wrong about saying I have to scrapbook, other than the fact that I have to do laundry, I have to cook, I have to clean sometimes, probably more than I do right now. But it's not really in a negative way, Marcia said. But I think that even using those words, they just still have those have to slightly negative connotations. And I don't want anything about my scrapbooking to have that attached to it, right? I just want it to be fun. Marcia says, I've only said have to. And Gina says, I say I have to do my pages. And believe it or not, I actually write scrapbooking as one of my things to do on my list. I love that. But totally not negative at all. It's just tough because we don't want to look at it like a chore, right? Like, it's this fine line between making time to scrapbook and having to do something, right? So Kathy says, so many ideas that you've shown or talked about have inspired me. I won't lie. I have lots of computer screenshots of your pages to remember those awesome ideas. Yay. That's always super funny. Oh my gosh. A couple months ago, Claire, she posted this picture, and she took a picture from where she was sitting, right? It was a great picture of where I sit right now or whatever. And she had her feet up. She's on her couch. She's got her feet up, and she's sitting there in her living room. And there's my face on this giant TV. And I'm like, I never thought that people would watch me on a TV. Like, that is like kind of scary. But, if something I've shared is that valuable and you take those screenshots and you're going to be using that to tell your own stories, that's kind of a win, right? Kind of a win. Sheila says, Kathy, I have so many pictures on my phone too. And she says, Kathy says, scrapbooking is never a chore for me. And Diane says, I write it on my daily list as well. And she's been doing load all month. I have to scrapbook. It comes up more. And when I have a big project to do. Yeah, it's funny, right? When you take the load challenge, it's like, well, I have to do my page now. So it doesn't have to be negative. It's really in how we're talking about it, right? Yeah, and Marcia says, I only said it during load and when I had a creative team assignment. But yeah, it's that fun thing. Yeah, Kathy, too kind. Joyce says, I have to finish projects so I can do something new. And Jane says, I like watching replays on TV, but computer is better live so that I can chat. Yeah, the whole TV. Sharon says, our kids Skype on a giant TV screen. Eek! I know. So let's talk about the review part of this. And I have a few pages here that I thought, I don't know if we'd review all of them. That would be a lot. But we can review some of these layouts and kind of talk about, like, I have no problem saying, hey, this isn't as good as it could be. So I kind of wanted to kind of look at a few things, like talking about what do you like about the pages that you've made? Like, what is your favorite thing when you finish a page and you're like, oh, that's a good one? Why? Right? Why is that a good page? What makes it good? So let's break them down a little bit and kind of see if we can analyze what made that page so good so that we can do it again, right? Because if we know, like, if there was either a system, a pattern, a style, if there was something like that that made one page good, then there's the possibility of being able to replicate that for more good pages, right? Sheila says, wait, people finish projects before starting a new one? Sheila, there is a day for you. Unfinished projects was on April the 7th. So yeah, let's have a look at this. Oh yeah, good. I do have this here. And here. Perfect. Okay, so here we have a page. I made this one recently. I think most of them are recent pages from my current load challenge, I think. I thought these were good to grab because I've made these during the time that we've been thinking about this, and yet there's still a lot of things that I have to learn and things that I can do better. This one here, I called it Up, Up, and Away. It was pretty cliche, and I was totally okay with that. Sometimes my titles are not super creative. And this picture, it's an okay picture. It's literally a screen capture. So if you look at what I've done here, I love to do something that's just like a little bit unusual or creative on pages. It's my favorite thing to do. So on this one, I cut this paper. It was actually just a background paper. I didn't have to piece it together. It looks all pretty, but that's just the paper. It's Ella and Viv paper. And so I cut this into kind of a balloon shape. And then the little box for the people, like the basket, I guess, not a box. The basket is actually a QR code because I've got a video embedded. This is a picture from the video. I just took a screen capture, right? We were talking about how easy that is to do nowadays. Kathy says, the scan code, I must go and look that up. I have a blog post on my old website on the Scrapbook Wonderland, and I'm pretty sure it comes up in search. So if you type how to add video to a scrapbook page, then it will likely show up in one of the options, it'll say from Scrapbook Wonderland. If you see that one, that's the one that I wrote. It's super easy. It's like 3 steps, 4 steps. It's like so easy. Yeah, in the gondola. Yeah. So it's a screen capture from the video because he was taking a slow motion video, and then he was able to, so he wasn't taking pictures, but he has the video of all of the balloons getting blown up and then floating off in the sky. So super cool. And, you know, my journaling is pretty light on this one, right? I didn't say a lot. Jonas went to Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida for the air show, April 2019. One morning there was a big hot air balloon launch, so he filmed a time-lapse video. What a thrilling event to witness. Is that great journaling? Not really, right? It's not amazing journaling. It's very much a who, what, when, where, why kind of page, right? Like it's just giving some basic details because I wasn't there. It's not my story. He didn't come home and say, oh, I have to tell you about this thing, right? There wasn't a bunch of passion, but he showed me the video and I'm like, that's neat. So I wanted to kind of just keep commemorate that. And what do you do when it's like a 23-second video or something, right? You make the QR code, you make the page, and then it's gone. ScrapHappy members, we actually did a session. It was a scrap solutions session. So if you go to the menu under the scrap solutions, one of them will say add video to a layout. And I actually walked you through the steps on the video, like actually all of the steps from loading the page or loading the video to creating the QR code to printing it and everything, like super easy. When you print them, just make sure that you're not cutting off the edges. You need the whole square, so it needs to be printed as the full square. Okay. Let's see. Marcia says, I was part of a critique class through Masterful Scrapbook Design with Debbie Hodge. Best thing ever for my scrapbooking. Oh my gosh. Debbie's stuff is so good. She's just wonderful. If you are an online business person and wish to make online business courses, or like not business courses, I mean like courses about anything online, she has a program that she teaches now. And of course, at this moment, the name is escaping me. Somebody will help me, right? And type it. It is so good. It is so good. I'm in it. Teach What You Do. That's her site, teachwhatyoudo.com. If you've ever wanted to run an online class, course, session, whatever it is, she's the person to go learn it from. So shout out to Debbie. Mom Ratsy. I'm a chronological storyteller and I track all my life events in a diary so I can scrap and document properly without missing any details. I'm very clean and linear and I love all my pages. That is so wonderful. The fact that you actually keep the journal and tell all the stories there, oh, that's a win. That is such a win. And Christine says, I just took video of my son picking up his graduation cord. What a great idea. Yeah, just a quick little QR code. I usually print them either 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches or by 1.25 inches by 1.25, something usually in that size for my pages because I want them to work. And they're super easy to pull up. So I don't know if anybody's like, hey, what does this do? You literally hold your phone over top of the thing now with the camera turned on and the video pops up here. Here, let's see if I can do that on the, get that onto the camera here. So, oh, I think I need to open my phone first. So on my camera here, I've got this. And as I bring this over, you can see it sees the QR code and it gives me the option of going to see the video on YouTube. And here's his little video with the balloons blowing up. And so that's just how easy it is to add that video right there to the scrapbook page. So that as you can like flip through your book, it's that easy to go and find your videos and just see that little piece. So just, it's a shout out for that technique. I think it's wonderful. This next one to critique, it's a fun one to critique for me because there's so many things that I don't love about this page. I decided I wanted to use up some of this really old alphabet. It's fine. You can see I've pieced together letters and I've chopped off other bits of letters, like that C was actually a Q before, and it's imperfect. And I decided that I was going to paint rather than just draw this hockey rink on here, which is not that pretty. I look at it now, I'm like, what was I thinking? But, it's a moment in my life. It's just one little page. And if I made a page that's not perfect, well, here you go. It happens, right? They're not all perfect. I've even smudged ink all over it or paint all over it. Whatever. It's fine. It tells this little story about going to a hockey game. It doesn't have the best journaling. It's kind of just an info page. It's like an event page. And then Joyce says, amazing, Kathy, you have to show me how to add this for my waterfall video when you're here in 2 weeks. Okay, Kathy, you get it figured out so that Joyce can do it. Christine says, I love to make unique titles, but I personally love language and proofreading. I know, nerd. No, that's a talent. You give yourself full credit for that because that stuff is really awesome. Yeah, Sharon's like, I think that looks good. It's okay. Up close is like, there's kind of a hot mess kind of thing happening there. Whereas this page was actually having a hot mess, but kind of on purpose. So I found this old picture. We were inspired by the Beatles and I Want to Hold Your Hand. And I really liked, it wasn't any team. It was like the local farm team or whatever you call it, like the AAA, AA. Literally don't know the hockey words to use. It's our local team, and they lost that night, but it was in a shootout, so it was exciting, right? This one I love because the photo, for starters, is wonderful. The black background draws me right into that black and white photo. I made this mess of embossing powder on here, like on purpose, so it's kind of fun. I've got the handwritten hand on this layout, which I thought was great, and I used my non-mink material for that. And the journaling is okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. I'm like, isn't this the sweetest photo? It totally captures the joy of playing in the mud and getting muddy. In the front is my Auntie Iris, then my mom, then Auntie Sylvia. I love their expressions, and it's a great casual photo that is full of fun. And so I wish I told more, talked about childhood more or something. I could have gone deeper with the journaling, but it's pretty good. Christine says, my sister saw the Beatles and has one picture that has horrible quality. Sometimes it doesn't matter, right? It can be a horrible picture, but it's like, that was them. I was there. I did the thing. This one, quite the family resemblance. And my son actually told me, when I told him what I wanted to do for the theme of this page, he suggested the photo. Actually, he's like, oh, you should use that picture from the fall with your mom. This page is not in focus. Yeah, so my son suggested it. He said that, well, we look a lot alike. You should do a page about that. And I kept the journaling. It's fairly light. And said me, my mom, and Joe all look pretty similar. We actually all have some similar personality traits, too. we like to be in charge. I guess there's some strong genetics in our family. And so it's light, it's kind of tongue in cheek. Like some people might not laugh when they read that, but I laugh because we're all bossy people. so so when I see this and I read those, like it has even more meaning. Marcia says you could go back and add more story on the back of a layout. I absolutely could. Usually once I've done the page, it's like moving on next. Like I make the page and I'm ready for the next challenge. But like I look at this one and I like the title. I like how I used like the little sticker letters, the little tiny block letters for the kind of insignificant words that are small. I've got the word family quite big, and I really like how that came together. I've got the circles because that was kind of, I think, was that part of it that day? Oh no, it was to scrap lift. So, yeah, I liked the circles kind of set here, and then I just sketched with a pen the big circles around the page. And so I like the overall effect. I think it's a really pretty layout. The journaling is fine. It's not the most amazing, but it's actually, it has its little funny moment. So I think that's good. So overall, it's quite a good page. Not highly embellished. You'll notice that I don't use a ton of embellishments. I like buying embellishments, and there's some embellishments I'm really good about using. Some though, not so much. This page is like not really much of a design aspect going on here. I've got my kind of little grid kind of happening here. The big day. And it says, hey, we went to a birthday party. Like, is the circle stitched or drawn? I drew it because I'm kind of anti-stitching, which is funny for one reason. Anti-stitching girl decided to make a quilt this last winter. Right before Christmas, I decided to make my son a t-shirt quilt. And then, you know how quarantine kind of messes with your brain sometimes? Like this whole social distancing. It's like, I am gardening. I've officially become the crazy chicken lady. That is a thing now. But I think the most unusual thing to have come out of this is that I now crochet. So, sorry, I made my first block for my Afghan. It is a sampler Afghan where every square will have a slightly different design. I had never crocheted before this. Well, okay, like once my friend tried to teach me and I had failed horribly. But Joy says I should have known that it wasn't stitches. You don't care for sewing. But I made my first one. It's not too bad. I only ripped it apart about 5 times. My kit came. Just feel your kit came. It did. And I've sat and I've made the first one. So I finished that. And I'm actually quite pleased. It's fairly square. I think it will work. I had to pull it apart a few times to get the tension so that it wasn't too small. Like at first they were like an inch to inch and a half too small. So yeah, there we go. That's this quarantine thing, it does crazy things to you sometimes. But I look at that, I'm like, that's cool. I made that. And now I'm going to make like a whole blanket with other ones, right? I can start block 2 now, and we're going on to double crochet instead of single crochet. But yeah, crazy quarantine things. This page actually is a quarantine page because this was our last event before the quarantine really hit. Like it was my nephew's birthday, and while we were at the party, we got the message that school had been canceled here officially. They sent me 2 hooks. I got a 5 and a 5.5. So that they're just like the little metal ones like this, but this is my 5.5. And then there was the other one, and it's a 5. And then they did send a little darning needles so that you can stitch in your ends at the end. And I had 2 packs of the yarn. So there's two skeins of yarn. Is that right? I'm that new. But yeah, I'm quite excited. It's Annie's Kit Club, and it's like, yeah, this Afghan thing, and every month they send you new stuff, and you're supposed to make like 3 squares every month. So it's cool. I'm doing it. Apparently I'm doing it. Joy says, I've been crocheting and knitting for over 50 years. And I don't know if it's going to become a lifetime passion of mine. I guess we'll see by the time I reach further down on this quilt. Or Afghan. I keep saying quilt. Afghan. So we'll see. But I got the first one done, so I quite feel very accomplished now. Okay, this one here, I actually love it so much. I love the design. I love the colors. I love the picture even. Like, how many times do you look at your pictures and be like, that's good? Sometimes it doesn't happen. I love the little hits of yellow on the layout. And it says, we have a little stream and waterfall flowing through our yard, a sure sign of spring. It's getting warmer outside and I'm wanting to spend more time outside. So we now have chickens and we're planning to grow a garden this summer. Bring on summer. Here comes the sun. Joy says, I've cooked my way through 2 cookbooks and Pinterest. That's amazing. And Kathy says, I have benefited greatly by those 50 years, Mama. Oh, like these little sweet moments. This is so good. And Christine says, Joyce, I love that. My beloved grandma crocheted and made boxes for all of the grandchildren. She passed away before I was married. Keep at it, Alice. I will at least get through this project. That is what I promised myself when I ordered it. I'm like, if I'm going to spend the money on this, and I'm sure there's cheaper ways to do it. Like, I'm sure getting a kit in the mail every month is not the cheapest way, but it comes with video instructions and it comes with all the supplies. So I didn't have to try to find anything, especially with the shopping options I have right now. So yeah. Kathy says, I love that one too. Did you hear my camera click? Yeah, so please feed the chickens. I love the fact that I was able to work with this background paper so well on this page. I used all of my best tricks for using scenic background papers. It's something that we've talked about in our ScrapHappy group, is using scenic papers, and I used all of my little tricks for that. And you'll notice I've got 4 pictures on the page, which I think is pretty great. It has chicken paper. It was in my stash. I bought that last summer. Did I know this was going to happen? I don't know. And, you know, little things like using a craft knife to just kind of cut around like things like the butterfly, cut that out so that you can tuck your photos underneath, like under these parts of the leaves and stuff here, so that your pictures are kind of drawn right into the layout. I think those are really good tricks. And so I look at the page. It's a very busy page because it has all the florals. Then I've got these multitude of photos. It was really early spring here, so we had like no greenery in the background. The colors are practically black and white. Like they are pretty tone on tone. But I love it in the fact that I used my words, and the words that I have on here are really fun because I wrote them for putting onto our YouTube. We're starting a chicken live stream channel. So if anybody is interested about chickens and seeing all the crazy things that we're doing with chickens, we're just getting our chicken live stream channel set up. It is here on YouTube. I don't even know if you can search it yet. There's somebody else's chicken live stream channel, but ours has like yellow background with a chicken and there's green grass on it. So if you find that one, we literally have like 5 subscribers. So it's not a big thing. Instagram, you can actually find us on Instagram a lot easier and then find it. So chicken live stream on Instagram. But here's my journaling. It's kind of cute. So it says, here's the scoop from the coop. Feeding chickens isn't always the most fun thing to do. Until now, check out the automatic chicken feeder for our chicken live stream channel. We're pretty proud and can't wait to show you. Give us a grade A rating and cluck the subscribe button. It's like a feather in our cap. So I think that's funny. And then I've gone through and I've added little bits of journaling about what we're doing. And my son actually designed all of this stuff. He's an IT guy, and yeah, so it's kind of fun. The paper is I should write it down. It is from Mintay, like Mintay. I'm pretty sure that's the paper. The chicken obsession continues. So I do love this page too. I hand tore the barnboard paper to make the heart. I did sketch it first with some scrap paper, so that's a really good thing. Christine says you sound like a late night commercial. Perfect! Yes, that's what I was hoping for. Like something like really cheesy and corny. Yay. Joyce says, I lead a group of ladies that make prayer shawls to send to give to those who are sick or grieving. If you have anyone who would appreciate one, let me know. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I will keep that in mind. So yeah, this is a fun one because I cut out and like for how many years in scrapbooking, if you go way back, silhouetting people, it was a thing. And then it was like not a thing. And it was like the thing you're not allowed to do. But on this page, it's perfect, right? It's like introducing all my chickens, the professor, Happy Feet, Molly, King Richard, Sesame, Little Miss Cluckington, and Bessie. And of course, the crazy chicken lady. This is with my first egg. It is one of 7 that I've had because my chickens are molting and they're not laying eggs. And so it's quite depressing. But yeah, so I talked about naming the chickens, where some of the names came from, and then I talked about getting our chickens and where we got them from. So I was able to include this. And you'll notice that in my design, because I really want the heart to stand out, I looked for a pen that was going to show up on the background well so that you could read it, but also not compete with the background. So it the journaling still kind of blends into the background so that you kind of have that big design with the crazy chicken lady in the middle. And that crazy chicken lady is on a spring, guys. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. Every once in a while, see, when you review your pages to see what do you like, that's what you can find, right? You won't eat them, right? So Christine. Well, they have names. That does make it a little harder. We have little baby chicks, and actually my husband went and got us some more baby chicks the other day. So I have lots of baby chicks right now. And the baby chicks, they're unsexed. Both of the sets, first ones we hatched from eggs in the incubator, and the next ones he grabbed from a hatchery. So I have 15 from the first batch, 10 now from the second batch. And we will raise them until we reach the end of the summer, likely, where we will not have as many roosters over the fall. Hint, hint. to put that subtly. to keep it friendly, but we won't be you can't keep that many roosters together. It's just, yeah. Sheila says, my father-in-law had a rule, only name the ones you are not going to eat. Otherwise, it becomes a problem. Just ask my sister-in-law and her old cow socks. Growing up, we had a steer, and his name was Beef because when he was going to be in the freezer and we had to go get some beef from the freezer, my mom wanted us kids to be very aware of where our food came from. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, But he was a very friendly cow, or steer, I guess. I do have a scar on my hand from him, though. I was reaching my hand through the fence to scratch him on the head. He jerked his head back and it startled me, so I pulled my hand and it hit the barbed wire. Mickey says, insert a shocked Pikachu meme here. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, so that was so fun. Betsy says, I'm trying to recreate the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band for Load by silhouetting people, and it looks awful. I don't have Photoshop, so now all my photos are going to be 2x2 squares. I think silhouetting people is a challenge. It is for sure. But by having several of them and layering them kind of together really helps. So if you can think of like what's going to be in the front, so it kind of goes back to almost like the masking kind of thing. What's going to be in the front and what's going to be back further. And if there's stuff you have to hide more, that kind of goes in the back. Christine says, my brother brought 2 chickens home and on the 4th of July, they were on the table as fried chicken. You know, it's part of life. If we eat chicken, then, you know, I think we need to be kind of understanding of that. That's part of our world, right? Gail says we had pigs named lunch and dinner. And Dawn says boys are named Colby and Jack. We call them the cheeseheads. Gosh. And a dog named Beef. Yeah, Christine says, my grandma cooked them for the family. My grandpa couldn't kill a chicken, so our neighbor did it. We lived in Chicago, not in the country. Oh my gosh. So this one here, we'll go back to my page review for a little bit. It's another page that it's not amazing. I look at it, it's okay. I like the picture. I just tell a very simple story. It doesn't have amazing journaling. I didn't do anything special, but I used some shiny stuff, so that counts good, right? And those had been in my stash for quite some time. This one was inspired by like a day in the life. And so it's kind of like the day in the life of a crazy chicken lady almost. It kind of just shows the extent of this. Like it's like, woke up early and checked on chickens, chatted with some people, and then checked on chickens. Then I did some other stuff, and then I checked on chickens. And then I cleaned out the chicken coop. And then, you know, later on we built a chicken swing. And so it's kind of just the day in life of a crazy chicken lady. It's not that amazing, but it makes me laugh when I see it. Oh my gosh. I know. That is like the hardest, right? Joy says, my grandmother had no problem wringing the neck of chickens for Sunday family dinners. Yep. You make it work, right? And Christine says, oh, Joyce, your grandma. Oh my gosh. When I was little, my dad fed me my pet rabbit Ruffles and Jeremy. Oh my gosh. But he said it was chicken. Oh my God. Family stories, right? And, you know, somehow we made it all through it, right? And, you know, somehow I really felt like when my kids were younger, it was our first little chicken adventure when the kids were younger. And I really felt that if they were going to eat chicken or eat meat or eat any of this stuff, like if we're going to eat it, we should know where it comes from and kind of understand that life process. And I think having that realization of where food comes from, that's just part of it. And I don't want to be a vegan. I don't want to be a vegetarian. So, yep. Oh, Sheila said you should have seen the look on my nephew's face when my brother's father-in-law told him why they had rabbits. I know. Actually, I don't even know if I've ever eaten rabbit, but I know my dad has plenty. Okay, this one here, we're going to go back to a review. We'll do like just a couple more pages and then we will wrap up. I'm scarred. I believe you. I believe you. So I give myself full credit for my title on this page. I get a thumbs up on that. Gonna get hooked. I thought that was kind of fun. And then I talked about quarantine leading to some strange things happening around here. I joined a crochet kit club. So that was me before things started. I literally couldn't even do a little slip knot yet. But I did the background. So for those of you that know my aversion to stitching, those I didn't actually even use my best method of doing my stitching, faux stitching. You want to know the easiest method of faux stitching? You take your white gel pen and you draw some straight lines. So this is like bonus tip of the day, guys. Bonus tip. Take your white gel pen, draw some straight lines, and then go along those straight lines and just jab the holes with your paper piercer, right? Can you see that? Paper piercer. So it makes it look exactly like stitching for people that, don't actually like stitching. And I forgot to do that on this one. So instead I drew like little dish, dash, 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 dash. What was I thinking? I don't know. But I like the paper. This was a Simple Stories paper. I like how it kind of all come together to look like a little quilt or Afghan, for my project. So kind of fun. I talk about my nervousness, but I say the word nervous instead of describing how it makes me feel. So that's one thing that I'm really working on. And we actually talked about this in our ScrapHappy scrap strategy session yesterday. And we talked about different writing topics. We were talking about that. And it said to one of the things for better writing is to show, don't tell. So don't say you're nervous. Say my palms were sweaty. I could feel tightness. I like describe the actual things. Christine says, Alice, you're a genius. Well, thanks. I'll eat that up all day. Keep it coming. Sheila says, I like that paper too. Yeah, it's super pretty paper. And I only needed a strip off of several of them. So I didn't use up that much of the paper to create my little gingham pattern. My son was having a little panic attack when I was putting this together. Actually, it was kind of funny because I didn't do it in perfect order. And that drove him crazy. But I think it looks much more quilty when it's not quite perfect. Sheila says your first block came out great. You'll be fine. I love this paper so much. This one is from Photoplay. It has these little gnomes, and this is about gardening. Title, boring, garden dream. That's not an exciting title. But I printed a big picture. It's of dirt. This was the dirt we brought into our garden. This was our garden when we rototilled it. Not the best black dirt around here. But then I decided to actually take my white gel pen and I did my journaling right on the photo, which turned out so good. And I didn't even know if that was going to work because I hadn't done that before. But man, that worked awesome. So that was a really fun thing. So bonus tip, you can use a white gel pen on a photo. Just need a good section of your photo to actually do something like that. So there we go. And I included these little mini photos over the top. So we talked about just getting the garden area set up, the dream for the summer. But man, look at how cute those little dwarfs are. Or gnomes. They're little gnomes. This is paper from Photoplay, by the way. Photoplay. It's called Tula and Norbert. And they actually have a new summer one that just came out. They have a summer one. I just have to show you because I'm kind of obsessed with it right now. So it's the little gnome guys. And most of the paper doesn't have the gnome. So it's not you have to use it like gnomes. And the backside of the gnome stuff doesn't have gnomes. So it's just summer paper. But it does have some little gnomes. And I'm oh, they're too cute. Thought that was lava. Yeah. No, that was our black dirt. Oh, this is fun. So I'm back to this paper again. I'm obsessed with this paper. Perfect. But I used one of my acrylics, Let's Stay Home. I did a super fun thing. I'm going to wrap this up soon, I promise, but I really like this. I these were pink and the pink just wasn't fitting with the page. I put it on there and I just was so unhappy with how it looked. It just wasn't quite right. So I took a red alcohol ink marker and I did that on top of there. It's awesome. Totally good now. So it looks red, but the sides kind of still, you can kind of see the pink from the side of the letters, which totally looks fine, right? Oh my gosh. Like that was just the perfect icing on the cake for that. So a little bit of garden stuff. So I was quite happy with that. I used acrylics, which always makes me happy. I used this fabulous kind of farm life paper, whatever it's called. So it's good. Doesn't have the most amazing journaling, but it's good. Okay. This one was so fun because when I said, and like this is like, I'd like to end here. Actually, I'd like to end here. So, yay, there's another page here with some strawberries, more garden stuff using more of that same paper. Told you I was obsessed. And here's another page that has a QR code. It's my kids being silly and hilarious. But let's finish with this one because this is literally the full circle of this whole happy at home experience. The very first day that we did a happy at home session, I talked about using watercolor on scrapbook pages. And this was me fiddling around with watercolor again on a scrapbook page. And the reason that I decided to do more watercolor pages is because it was my favorite things. It was some of my favorite pages from last year were the pages that I did watercolor on. Now, am I a great watercolorist? No, I'm not. But I swoosh around a little bit of water and color on the paper and I fiddle and play with it. I did draw myself a template here so that I could keep my snowman. Diane says, I like how you use the snowman for journaling. I'm like, I thought that was brilliant too. I was like really happy with it. I thought the title work fun with using a marker again on top of the foam. They're like white foam letters to make them the right color was genius. How have I not done that before? And you know, just watercoloring the background, so leaving this part masked and then watercoloring the rest of it. I just love it. And so that page, I look at it right away and it's fun. Like the way the page is designed is fun. The pictures are kind of hilarious. I'm a lot better looking at it now than I was at the time, let me tell you. It is watercolor paper, Joyce. Yeah, because I did use a fair bit of water on the paper, and this is that Prima watercolor paper in the 12 by 12 size. So, great trick for that. And I said, the lines between work and fun are pretty blurry sometimes. In March, I was hosting the Calvin Ball Scrapbooking Challenge, and I knew an update with my snowman would be very fun, on point, and entertaining. I also did my ScrapHappy update video. It was all fun, until Ryan pelted me with a snowball to the face. Maybe it was work after all. And so how does this tie up everything that we've been talking today? That whole work versus fun, like get to scrapbook, have to scrapbook, the watercolor that I wanted to do more of this year, the fun techniques, a little bit of fun in the journaling. I think that it's kind of just the perfect way to kind of end this whole happy at home series of YouTubes. I've loved it and I've loved doing them, but I have more fun things that I'm working on. So I can't commit to the same schedule for June. That doesn't mean I won't ever be on YouTube. I will. So please make sure that, you know, that you come and join my email list. I don't spam a lot. I don't have time for it. In fact, I try to send out an email every Friday, but I don't even know if I'll get one out today. Like, it just, that's life. So I really love finding ways to get pages, to create the pages that I truly love in the style that I truly love. And, finding all of those solutions along the way is what inspires me. It's the kind of stuff that I'm always sharing in our ScrapHappy group. So if you've never checked us out, come on over to ScrapHappy and just check us out and see what you think there. We don't have tons of spoilers. I'm working on it, a little bit here. Mostly I work on creating stuff for the group. We do our load challenges, which are amazing. These pages were all made as part of a load challenge. I really love creating things that help people tell their stories and make pages that they love. So that's my goal in life. Jenny says, so fun. I loved it. So thank you so much. Sheila says, thank you, sweet friends, for being so kind and welcoming to me. I will miss our chats. So yeah, the regular basis of this has been fantastic. So thank you for joining me for this series. I hope that it really has made your time at home these last 2 months a little bit happier, that you found fun things to inspire your scrapbooking, that you can look at your pages and find the things within your pages that you love, that inspire you, so that you can do more of what works. And hopefully that, you'll just have a better time when you're doing this. And Gail says, this has been great. It made me happy. Thank you. And Betsy said, these have been a highlight to watch, Alice. Thank you. I know it takes a lot of planning. Thanks again for Load 520 also. Yes. So thanks so much. I've really enjoyed this. I will be back. I will be back on YouTube, just not with this regular schedule that we have going on right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not very long before I'm like, oh, I missed this too much. We're back. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And most of all, thank you to you. I really appreciate you guys being here with me. Joy says, thanks. I look forward to the next time we can all be together. Yes, that's the greatest thing. And if you want to get in touch with me, I am on Instagram at Alice Bowl, and I'd love to see if you've done something that was inspired by this series. Please tag me, tag at Alice Bowl, and I will see your stuff. I do go and check the things I get tagged in all the time, so it's a really good way to keep in touch and to show me what you created and be like, Alice, I watched this thing. I made a nostalgic page, or I made a page that was inspired by a turnaround stamp, or whatever it was. I'm excited. So hopefully we'll get to have more fun adventures soon. And speaking of that, I'm actually back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Scrapbook Live. I will be using a self-prepared kit tomorrow, and I will be creating a layout during our Scrapbook Live session. So if you want to actually scrapbook together, then come and get on my email list, because that's who I invite to come and join me. We use Zoom for that, and we'll be scrapbooking together tomorrow. So come and check it out. See, I know there's more opportunities. There's always something. I'm always got something. So yeah, come and join me for Scrapbook Live tomorrow. It is at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. We usually scrapbook for about 2 hours, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I will be using my load prompt and creating a layout, and yeah, should be really good. Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. Have the best time. Create pages that you love, and scrap happy. And I hope this has made you a little happier at home.